Alright, hey YouTube, it's Chess Teacher Joe, also known as Big Joey. I'm going to do a video series on the Chinese Dragon variation in the Sicilian defense. So my videos can only be 10 minutes long, as you know, and we're going to examine the different variations in different videos. So I'm only going to cover one variation per video, and the Chinese Dragon happens after the typical Yugoslav attack moves, so we don't really need much of an explanation for this. If you're a Dragon player, you've probably played this tons of times. And yes, of course, the other variations are totally playable, but we're looking at the Chinese Dragon today, so, you know, we gotta stay the course. The Chinese Dragon is rook to b8 instead of the more typical rook to c8 or queen to a5. So rook b8. Now, unlike in the rook to c8 variations, bishop to b3 is not technically forced here, although it is still the most common move. And I guess it's a prudent action because b5 coming, actually sacrificing a pawn, is certainly playable. h4 is a move that can be played here, and the pawn sacrifice is pretty strong. So normally white plays bishop to b3, although h4 is certainly not, you know, it's certainly an option. Black now plays knight to a5, and this is a better move than the more typical looking knight e5 because black wants to have the option of taking on b3, which is actually the best thing to do in some variations, and it's going to be the best thing to do in the variation we're about to look at. Now white has three main options here: h4, a bishop to h6, and king to b1. And all of these are independent ideas. Now, moves like g4 can transpose into the h4 ideas, so they're not of a huge independent significance. But the three moves I just mentioned here all are totally different lines, and different things happen. And the first one we're going to look at is bishop to h6. And according to some analysis I read, this move actually took to quote the author of the article, a pretty serious blow in a correspondence game. And it's not the move I recommend, but it's something you may see pretty often. Bishop takes h6, dragging the queen over to the king side, and we're going to see why black does this in a second. b5. Okay, typical move in the Chinese Dragon. You're going to get the rook on the b file, you need to open that file. And now h4 is played. Knight d5 was played by Sergei Kudrin playing against Alexander Shabalov, and Shabalov is black won in an endgame after a complicated game. I recommend looking that up. But h4 is more typical, and it's the standard Yugoslav plan. You blast open the h-file and checkmate it. Now black plays a move that you may not expect if you haven't really looked at this position before, and that's e5. And this idea is a lot different than the typical way black gets counterplay against the Yugoslav attack. The knight has to move back. It has to go to e2, obviously. And now, at first glance, it looks like black is in a lot of trouble. This d file is open. The knight can come to d5, or the bishop can come to d5. So positionally, it looks like black's horrible. But in fact, that's not really the case. Knight takes b3, gets rid of that powerful attacking piece. And obviously, we can take back both ways. When I've searched this in my database, none of the games I saw took with the c-pawn. So all of them took with the a-pawn. Taking with the c-pawn, I suppose, is possible, but I don't think black's plan is going to change very much. b4, and now knight to d5. Other knight moves look ridiculous. I mean, knight a2, knight b1, knight a4, knight d5. Okay, and this move gets rid of an important defending piece, but knight takes d5, and rook takes d5 is the better option here. Pawn takes actually is a lot worse of a move because white doesn't get any pressure down here. And in some cases we can come up to f5 with the bishop and put more pressure. So rook takes here. And in this position, black has two main options. Bishop to e6 is the older move, and rook to b6 is the stronger and newer move. And it's the move that I'm going to recommend here. So black has a pretty powerful idea with this move. The rook is simply going to shift over to the a file perhaps, and then come down here. It's an idea. And it also gives the d6 pawn some defense, and in the future, a pawn that'll come to f6. And we'll see that idea developing in a moment. Now, real quickly, I want to show you a little opening trap here that white can fall into if he doesn't know the line. And obviously this is not the best moves, but it does showcase the idea. G4 and rook a6 is better, but for just the sake of demonstrating the idea, let's just play a5, h5, g5. And what happened is the white queen is entombed. It doesn't get out very easily. Actually, to correct myself, I should say, after play this first, rook goes back, a5, and now queen's entombed. So I fudged the move order a bit, but you guys get the idea. Black's position is awesome now. It's downright impossible for white to break through. So it's kind of a cool little idea. Now, of course, white can improve this a little bit and can play h5 straight away. But after g5, rook takes d6, f6, the queen suffers from the same problem. Now, obviously, this is better than the line I just showed you previously because, you know, white has a pawn, and white may be able to get out with moves like g3 followed by a possible f4. But in the meantime, black can go with this idea again. And I really think black is one with the advantage here, and the database supports that conclusion. So this is the main reason why I don't really recommend the early bishop to h6. Perhaps if you want to play bishop to h6 early, you should go along with Sergei Kudrin's idea of playing knight d5 straight away, which may very well be better. I don't have enough time to look at this variation independently. I recommend that you look up the game. It was played recently between Grandmaster Sergei Kudrin as white and Alexander Shabalov as black. And take a look for yourself. Okay, that'll finish part 1. We'll look at some more variations in part 2 and 3 and how many parts I'll make.